Welcome to Being Love TV's Souls Talking Brain.
Ooh, it's an exciting show today. Exciting show. I hope everyone is doing well and fabulous and feeling great. We are quite excited for our guest that we have today on Souls Talking Brain show, and that is Dr. Elliot Maynard. Did I pronounce it right? I did pronounce it right.
I hope
yes,
so.
I hope so. I really hope so. I really do. We are going to be speaking with Dr. Elliot Maynard in 1-2 minutes. But let us first introduce you to him and get acquainted with our lovely guest today.
Dr. Elliot Maynard, leading-edge consciousness scientist and conceptual designer. His background spans the field of zoology, coral reef ecology, oceanography, and tropical rainforest biology. Founder and president of Arcos Cielos Foundation in Sedona, Arizona. Active with the World Future Society, the Aerospace Technology Working Group, and the London-based Humanitad International. His fourth and newest book, Brave New Mind, Living in a Future Science World, presents his new master paradigm for personal and planetary transformation. In addition to his work as a futurist, lecturer, author, educator, and global ecologist, Elliot is an accomplished artist, sculptor, musician, underwater photographer, and documentary film producer. He has been referred to by some of his colleagues as the human from the future.
Wow.
That's
quite
a mouthful.
Quite a mouthful.
Not to mention a lifeful.
It is actually a lifeful. It's quite impressive. It is very impressive that he is so diverse in his field and his expertise and his experience in life. And definitely so, especially getting to know his book, his latest book especially, and reading a bit more of, the Brave New World. It is, I mean, if you think about it, in this day and age when we are not just living in the world of, we are living in a world of technology after all, and science, and everything is incorporated on that level. So we are quite excited to give him a call. And
so shall I
enlighten all of us?
Shall I ring a ding ding?
Let's ring a ding.
Alrighty then. So everybody stay on hold for a moment as we call Dr. Maynard. That is us calling Dr. Maynard. Hello?
Hello.
Hello. How are you doing today?
Fine, thank you.
Wonderful. Welcome to our show. We're very blessed to have you with us here today.
Thank you.
So we just introduced you very briefly to our viewers and gave them a little introduction to you. Is there anything specific that you would want with respect to an introduction to who you are for people to know that you would like to share before we get more into the wonderful dynamics of your book?
No, I think let's just let it flow and see what happens.
All right then. So, been perusing through your book, And you don't call them chapters, which I love. One key after the next is filled with a plethora of information and new ways of existing in our world today, where we are utilizing both ancient techniques as well as new modern day techniques, merging them together, getting rid of whatever doesn't really work or resonate well, and creating a new paradigm for the future that will, as I think I recall you using the word, leapfrog us ahead in evolutionary steps. So what we were wondering is if we might be able to get some insights and information from you regarding what we can do in our everyday lives right here, right now. The layperson who is not necessarily consciously aware or doesn't necessarily have the tools of new technology. What can we do today to assist ourselves in our evolutionary process?
Well, that's a pretty comprehensive question, but I'll start doing. First of all, we need to stop trying to create new games and new ways to couch ourselves in denial. We need to stop dwelling on the past, and so much we can use it as a reference, but we need to operate from the present and into the future. So that's one major shift. And one of the other deep concepts in this book involves actually moving away from these cycles of war and destruction that have been going on endlessly. We have to involve ourselves with the higher dimensions, and this work, the groundwork has already been laid by people who spent many years in a cave and this sort of thing. Okay. We don't need to be ascetic anymore because the times, the energy, the vibrations, if you will, have speeded up, so we can do things very fast and very simply now.
So you had said we shouldn't be focusing on the past, but that I'm a little bit confused because part of what you have been speaking to in your book is utilizing more ancient methodologies like alternative, what we now refer to as alternative medicine, for example, which is actually our ancient medicines, and coupling those with modern technology. So when you're referring to we shouldn't be focusing on our past, what specifically are you referring to when you make that statement?
I'm referring to the great masses of people who love to rerun wars and disasters of the past,
right?
Which is fun as a reference. But this new technology, this new book, this master paradigm is all about living in the present and moving into the future. And okay. We do this by bringing the future right into the present and using the past as a reference. Now, when we speak of ancient technologies, I'm speaking of the technologies which have allowed the human race to survive for millions of years.
Of course.
And we're bringing that together with our modern technology, which has only really existed for the last couple hundred years even, and has speeded up infinitesimally at fairly recently.
So you're speaking about bringing the now into the future, which I'm sure for many of our viewers makes logical, albeit non-linear consciousness sense, but for someone who it doesn't make sense to, because it might sound a little wonkadoodle that you're bringing the future into the now. Can you say a few words about how that happens, and as I'm assuming quantum mechanics or quantum reality, and how we can actually tap into the future in the now and make that happen?
Yes, this groundwork has been laid by the monks and spiritual people who stayed in a cave for many, many years, and now that time is speeding up and everything is speeding up, so we have now, because of these pioneers who we need to honor, the ability to combine the past and the future. And we have a certain arrogance about us when we consider that modern, what we call modern medicine, and really modern technology has only really existed for the past 100, 150 years.
Right.
So what we're doing is moving from a linear sort of existence where we simply keep making the same cycles of civilizations rising and falling. This linear overemphasis on the linear came along with the advent of the Gutenberg press, which allowed for mass media, newspapers,
communications,
and
right. So, so how do we get from where we have been and where we are now to where you see us evolving, where we are actually, like, how do you get from thinking linearly to non-linear? How do we get back in touch with heart consciousness, with love consciousness? What tools can we make use of in this now?
One of the simplest things that I've outlined in my book is, yes, one of the simplest things is to simply quit dwelling on the past and the cycles of destruction and negative cycles and work from the present into the future. And when we do this, we have access to something other than this linear history that's strung along like an old-fashioned audio or videotape. Now, when you use a CD, which is an analog of consciousness also, you can access any point on that CD instantly without running the tape forward and backward.
Right.
And so what we're doing when we shift our consciousness, I like to tell people to envision a little red switch. And instead of not believing anything which cannot be proved, and I say proved endlessly, to be true, we flick that switch to say, just don't disbelieve anything which you can't prove to be untrue. Now that opens up the consciousness to receiving all kinds of information from what we call the quantum information field.
So,
and
can we ask you just,
yes.
You just piqued Aline's interest there. So the statement that you make, we just want to make sure that our audience heard correctly. You said to go from don't believe anything unless you can see it to don't believe anything. What was the statement that you said that is counterintuitive to that?
Well, the standard dogma says don't believe anything you can't prove to be true.
Okay.
And we simply flick that little switch to not disbelieve anything we cannot prove to be untrue.
So don't disbelieve in anything that you cannot prove to be untrue. So if we can just take a few moments there, none of us have been able to prove that fairies don't exist. None of us have been able to prove that
something does not exist. Yes.
that we are not actually magical divine beings. None of us have been able to disprove or prove otherwise. So many things that we hear those who are in the consciousness industry speaking to, and yet we don't believe it because we can't see it. So we really love your little flip of the red switch. Okay, sorry to interrupt. So we flipped the red switch and we are no longer disbelieving that which we cannot prove otherwise.
It's that simple, it really is. And when this happens, what we do is access what is called the quantum information field.
Okay.
Now this information field contains all the information in the past, present, and future. And when you start to open yourself to this, you can actually begin to move into the future in the sense that you can bring the future right back into your present moment and interface with it. So now we would have an enlightened civilization which would be not dwelling in the past and the old wars and repeating the old cycles, but generating new ideas and new cycles, and cycles which would not result in a solid box, which has been the problems of those locked in certain paradigms, which you all know about. Now we have an open-ended paradigm which can evolve, and it can split off other paradigms and birth them. And so we have this whole new system, and we have instant access to this quantum information field.
Now, when you say we have instant access to it and we are bringing the future into the present, I'm assuming that I'm not obviously going to bring my future self physically before me and be witnessing some kind of a scene taking place in my future. So what I'm understanding or assuming that you are meaning is that we are going to have some kind of if you will, psychic ability to foresee if we follow this pathway or that pathway, this is where it's going to lead, and therefore have a greater understanding of the results of actions that we choose to take in the now. Would that be fair to say?
Yes, and very often what prevents people from doing this sort of thing is fear of the unknown. And as we all know, the human civilization has gone to very extreme lengths to create wars and all sorts of diversions, which they're familiar with, so they can go lop off heads and all this sort of thing.
And make lots of money.
Really opening up and be willing to move into the future. And as we do this, little fears will trickle in.
Right.
And there's a little technique that I discovered very recently, that when that kind of fear starts taking place in your solar plexus, what you do is just embrace it a little bit and hold it. And hold it gently, and if you do that for a very few minutes, it will start to go away. It will start to, like a child that's crying, it will start to calm down, and then it won't exist anymore. And so there you can move into the future, because fear of the unknown is a very primal fear in all of us. And it's also been happening by the church, the schools, the establishment, etc.
Absolutely. Did you want to?
Go ahead.
So, in your book, there are 25 different master keys, and obviously we can have an entire show, if not more, on each one. But again, wanting to keep our focus on the daily routine lives that we're living, what can the individual, out of those 25 keys, what are a few key points that you can bring forward to assist us in ever-expanding ways of dealing with these fears, of finding more comfort in the unknown and manifesting our authentic desires by trusting in that which we do not see and bringing that information into conscious awareness?
Well, you kind of brought to mind a very beautiful analogy when you spoke of the fear of the unknown. And what I saw in my mind was a boat that we were in approaching a small island.
Okay.
And we want to know what's on this island, but because of all the social programming we've had in the past from religious organizations, all our parents, etc., we might be a little afraid. Now, if we can embrace that fear, first you recognize it, then you bring it to you, and you allow it to settle down, just as a crying baby, you would take it this way. This is something that has recently come to me. And after a little bit, it goes away, and then you can move ahead to the next step from there.
Sorry. I just wanted to repeat that last bit again for me, please, if you don't mind.
Yes, what I was really saying was that it is possible to gently embrace that fear and hold it as if you would hold a small baby, and in a very short time it will become less and less, and eventually, in a very few minutes actually, it will disappear, and then you can go on to the next step. It's very natural to have this fear. It's been programmed into us, and also it has been a survival mechanism when we had all those years in the jungles and survival.
Right.
So we're dealing with something we've been programmed with some old software,
Absolutely.
hardware, and we need to move with a new hardware.
So you're saying basically that anything that is fear-based, that is the unknown, because as we do fear the unknown, whether we fear it or whatever it is, we're still not sure of the unknown, that if we are somewhat cradling the idea of the unknown and the fear of the unknown, then eventually we will get to a place where it just becomes it. So therefore, it's not something that is.
It dissipates.
It's like
it dissipates
because it's not something that is new, that is presented. So it's kind of like you basically acknowledging.
Yes.
So it's
you acknowledge fear, and you can embrace it. You can treat it like a little baby. Allow it to feel your vibrations and become more comfortable with it, and you'll see that this will happen, and it will dissolve, because the fear can be very, very terrifying, and this fear is in our genetics. It helps us survive in the wild.
Right. So
well, it is definitely embedded. It is yes, it is. It is embedded in our entire biological makeup. And yes, and we have the choice to be able to make it into something or nothing, and that is our choosing, and bringing it into our conscious awareness first, and then therefore giving it the that it is, cradling it, and then allowing it that it becomes nothing, just like with life itself. And something is new, whether you know it or you're experiencing it, or whether you don't or you're not experiencing it, you are addressing it, and then therefore it is not. It is not it is not a heavy thing that is a fear that is holding you back.
Yeah. So
easier to make the switch, I would assume. You have to become aware of the red switch. So
it's easy to talk about this sort of thing, but when we do confront our fears, sometimes it can be very terrifying. So it's better in a way to kind of bite off smaller pieces of the fear, and it will quiet down, and then we can move on and move ahead. This is a natural survival mechanism for human society. So if we simply recognize that, it can magically begin to transform us.
Right.
And we can move into the present and future.
Right. Mm-hmm. So in addition to your insights regarding facing our fears, you also had some magically wonderful tools that one can make, can imbue into their daily lives when they are seeking to create, which you had made mention that as a human species, it is our natural
habitat,
compulsion to be basically creative artists, each one of us creating from our beingness, that whichever happens to flow through us. And you had some wonderful techniques to use for assisting.
Well, when you look at it in the longer view, you realize that these fears were created for human survival. They were programmed right into into our genetics. So this is not an easy task. We can talk about it,
right?
But actually living the talk is another thing. It's not easy.
It's not easy, no, but it is easy for us to be able to come up with these ideas. It is easy for us to translate them. It is easy for us to put them into working methods, and come up with suggestions and theories and things that we can put into practice. Those things are easy, but I do believe that it can be easy.
Well, it is
I do believe that
ultimately.
in order for us to, I mean, everything that it is that you do and everything that it is that we ourselves are wanting to expand into and eventually evolve into should be easy, as we already have everything that is pretty much in at our disposal,
Right,
especially
but
nowadays.
like Dr. Maynard was saying, we have been programmed
Hmm.
for several millennia,
Hmm.
right? Um, Through fear consciousness.
I think.
So now we are retraining our brains and
I think
realigning our
right.
minds
So I
back into
think
love
right.
consciousness
So
and teaching ourselves that. So there are ways,
it's
for
not that it's not
example,
easy. It's that it's what's not easy is that we're not taught.
well, we're not taught, and we also are surrounded by continuous support to the negative. We are continuously receiving support that is directing us to have doubts in that which is the unknown, the unseen, the quantum field of infinite possibility.
Mm-hmm.
We are continuously being told that we should be afraid, that we should be freaking out because it's survival of the fittest, and so on and so forth. So part of your book, you were talking about some things that an artist can do when assisting themselves in their workstation to better tap into the field, which I find is something that anybody can do, regardless of whether they consider themselves to be an artist or not. If can you say a few words about that, Dr. Maynard, about setting up your living space or your workspace to be more conducive to tapping into that quantum field of infinite potential?
Absolutely. Quite a few years ago, maybe 40 years ago, I decided that I wanted to create a series of art pieces, and I set the number of 100 as a number that would make a quantum shift in the whole concept of art. What I wanted to do was to create living art forms. In other words, each one would be alive, like the story of the puppet Pinocchio, who was granted by his wish by I think it was the good fairy, to become a real boy. Well, this actually came to pass, and I was not specific in the sources of the inspiration. So over the years, I've created many, many sculptures and art pieces which are all living in the sense that when you put these coordinates together, each with its own energy signature, you create something greater than the whole. And these sculptures especially are living, and I've had several psychics look at these independently, and without any knowledge of this, they said that they were operating in the other dimensions. Now, what's unique about this future science art, if you ask for inspiration, you may be surprised that one sculpture can be totally different from the next, or art piece. And so this has created a wonderful new medium to spread healing energy to people. And what I've found when people look at these sculptures, they fixate on a certain one. If they take it home, it's something like having a new baby. You don't have to feed it and change its diapers, but it's nice for you to interact with this. And it's possible, this is a new form of art, and it's actually not new, it's new to our civilization, but perhaps was the art of Atlantis or Lemuria or these other civilizations and other galaxies and planets. So we have the creation of living art forms, and it's a very, very rewarding thing because the art form begins to teach you how to create it as you create it.
Okay. Did you want to?
Yeah.
Or should we go to commercial?
Actually,
first?
we just have we wanted to also show people that
Our upcoming shows.
Well, we wanted to do that before, but in the meantime, as you can see, that's on the screen right now is Dr. Elliot Maynard's fourth book, as I believe, is Brand New Mind, Brave New Mind. You know, brand new, brave.
Yeah.
And you can, which is what right now we are discussing points in his book right now, living in the future science world. We are going to take a moment. 5 minute moment and
5 minutes.
Not 5 minutes.
Not 5 minutes.
Not 5 minutes.
Hello. This isn't our fourth show.
Maybe a minute. Maybe a minute, and get back to our special guest here today on Soul Sucking Brain Show. And we will be right back.
Share the love.
Share the love.
Alina's on a 20-second delay.
It's one of those, you know, when you're broadcasting on the news and then you hear the person saying something and then the other person has this sort of delay. Yes, I think I'm on a new paradigm thinking mode. Okay.
Oh, I am so welcoming and receiving and embracing that, honey. All the way. Very good. Alrighty then.
Yes. I'm on a, you know, I guess, you know, if we are speaking
to shifting consciousness.
I would assume that everything else becomes what it's not in our perception of what is.
Nice.
You know,
I like that.
I would imagine so. Wouldn't that change the entire world as we know it?
Yes.
Dr. Elliott, wouldn't that change everything? Don't you think that the entire, maybe on a genetic level, that our entire beingness on a biologically would even shift if we are thinking?
Absolutely, because when we begin working in the quantum field, the possibilities are infinite, and things can begin to happen and will begin to happen for anyone that makes this commitment. They don't have to have special training, but they just need to start to be aware of the grid that has been set for them in linear terms and be willing to move ahead into this quantum information field.
Mm-hmm. Which can flip, which can actually, I'm stuck on the switch. I like the switch. I think the switch is a great idea, and it is. It's not a flip.
In and of itself, no, but it is. It is the entire premise that we are discussing here today is a complete and utter shift in consciousness paradigm from everything we have been taught to the complete and utter opposite of it. So yes, it's not a question of is it a shift. It is. Everything we have been taught is, for the most part, I shouldn't say everything, because there's always things that are correct, but mostly what we have been taught and how to think and how to interact, perceive, receive, and respond to life, to ourselves, our thoughts, our feelings, our actions, is actually the opposite of how we should be perceiving, receiving, and responding. Well, we have been taught to be doing so through fear, when we should be doing so through love. We've been taught, trust in what you see, when in fact we should be trusting in what we feel. Well, I don't see what I feel. Well, so right away everything is flipped upside down.
It's interesting enough. Like in your book, you say that mankind may be a lot older than is currently accepted.
Oh, absolutely.
Well,
absolutely.
Can you tell us? The science that points to this, and as we were talking about how things will be shifting and how we may be seeming, or how we may be going, or where we may be going, if you can share with us.
Well, what has happened is that we've had a tremendous speed up of consciousness, of our whole lives. In other words, let me just give a simple example of how the television has changed from using the old vacuum tubes to flat screen, and the number of pixels has been increasing exponentially,
Right.
very rapidly, only in the last few years, say 5, 6, 10 years.
Digital
Now,
TV.
why would we have ultra high definition TV? Because television and those pixels are consciousness waveguides. And when you pack all that information into a screen, it's changing everyone's consciousness. And now what happens then is a certain smaller group will go ahead and continue to evolve, whereas many of those who wish to keep their heads stuck in the sand will start becoming very irrational. Some of your best friends may do this if you start moving into the future. Yes.
So would you
already have?
would you say? I mean, obviously, this is affecting our all of our senses.
Absolutely.
So if it on when you're mentioning the with the new technology, for example, and the screens and everything is becoming like they're adding thousands, if not more and more pixels to our screens, and so that's definitely something with our senses being that our vision. And
Yes.
so
Yes.
would you?
Our consciousness is essentially entrained by what we are watching. If you compare high definition television to one of the first TVs, it's rather pathetic. You wouldn't even want to watch the original TV anymore.
Right.
That this is correct. Now, would you say that this is something that, granted, we are watching? It's not our daily lives are not being pixelated, right? I mean, or is it?
Or are they?
Or are they? Because it is our senses, and you do mention that being that in your book, that when you're mentioning that the mankind may be a lot older than is currently accepted, is that are you saying that with respect to on a physical level, or are you saying that on a visual level, or are you saying that on their senses level, on their feeling, or just by or age or life expectancy?
Well, to put it in a nutshell, I firmly believe that Atlantis and Lemuria were very, very real, and that takes us back 12,000 years roughly to Atlantis, and Lemuria would be in the area of 35,000 years ago. And we had great civilizations at that time and great technology. And what the current theory is that many of the people who have reincarnated in these speeded up times have come back to get it right this time when they blew up, a whole civilization by being arrogant with their weapons and all of this, their technology.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Mm-hmm. So, in our now that we're in right now, you have spoken to such a plethora of subject matters, everything from Tesla to HARP to environmental conditions and means by which we can assist the environment, agriculture, education. Can you say a few words about your belief regarding the future of education and how we are able to assist our children to be fostering this consciousness based upon trust within the quantum field and making conscious use thereof, obviously again through love's consciousness as opposed to fear, so that not only do we who are existing in the now, adults who are having to realign our minds with this consciousness, but actually fostering this within our children from the get-go.
Yes, I have one of the points or precepts of the master paradigm of future science technology is future science education. And I developed this while I was working in the Hopi Reservation in northern Arizona and teaching there and working actually to develop the school system. And what I learned was that education, our traditional education has a so-called norm, and everyone is supposed to fit the norm, and if you don't, you know what? You become an outsider.
Right.
Now, my education system, which I call, it's a lifelong learning system, but I call it the University of the Future Project.
Okay.
And what this does, it takes every individual child or person and works from their center to develop them from that central point. And then you put them together and put them through certain experiences, like, say, publishing a newsletter. Now, publishing a newsletter, for example, involves a lot of different activities and skills.
Right.
And so if you start doing project-oriented education, you watch, if you have kids or have been around them, you watch them go when you get things organized right and get them going on a project. It's wonderful to see.
All right, very cool. So
I think maybe we should put you in charge of the educational system. What do you think?
I have to say this about that, because having been a university professor and also worked up at the Hopi school system and from an also like a school board kind of perspective, I think our system's quite badly broken, and what we need to do is to take each individual that comes into that system and work from their own core, and to enhance their own abilities, their talents, the things they do really well. We can give them a perspective of the other subjects, but if they don't do well in something like mathematics, we don't have to cut their whole grade average down. That's just the way it is, and we move them into something they're more talented in and let them blossom.
So how do you answer then, for example, the teacher or the educational system, their concern of individuated programming in a system that is not even able to support the mass programming that is being provided to our children in the educational system right now? Like, how are we supposed to be able to afford to give this individuated attention to each child so that they can foster their inherent gifts which they came here to share?
Let me turn that around and say, how can we possibly not afford to do that?
I didn't say how can we not afford to. I said what are some of the manners by which you see this actually being implemented?
Well, my new educational plan is called the University of the Future, which is a concept which takes each individual and from their own nucleus, their abilities, we put them in an environment where they can learn to use these abilities and then interact with others so that they learn how to, if you're a musician, call it jamming. You know, you learn to get together with others and form teams, and you can do this kind of thing. The educational system is pretty well broken for the simple reason that it's accumulated a lot of deadwood, and this happens at university levels and also in lower school system levels. Mm-hmm. So it's a problem, and what we do is just rise above this, and the kids will learn in spite of the system anyway, no matter what you put out.
So Dr. Maynard's getting a phone call right now. He's getting a phone call. So if we are to if I'm to understand correctly, I'm talking more about like the actual day-to-day integrating of the system. So what you're suggesting is that those who are of like mind or of have like kind abilities, you would group them together and
absolutely
foster those abilities, and then you would have all different groups of like-minded children together, so that way you still have the groups. It's not one-on-one, but then you would bring them all together to work on a project that initiates each one of their talents, because it's a project that would be multifaceted. Is that, am I understanding correctly?
You've got it. That was beautiful the way you put it. I can't add much to that, but yes, we need to create a garden and fertilize that garden and create that environment so each of these individuals, be they children or adults, can blossom from their own center, from their own core, from their own seed.
I so believe that, by the way.
Absolutely.
We completely
yes.
Well, pretty much
agree.
most of what you've written, we completely
pretty
agree.
Much,
yes. So, with respect to finding out what somebody's inherent gifts are and which group or groups, because we are multidimensional, we each have many things that we are here to be gifting to and for the benefit of all. Do you have any format or system in figuring out who should be going into what group? How do we get the kids to show us what their talents, where their talents lie?
Well, we put them essentially in a general classroom, and then we start to observe them and how they interact, what they do and what they like. Certain children are talented at being an auto mechanic, so they should be directed in this way. If that's what they are good at, that's what they also enjoy and feel comfortable with.
Right, and which they will blossom within.
A lot of technical people, and the high schools in this country, in North America, don't really do much to encourage that. So everyone does not need to be a philosopher, and that lesson comes out very starkly when we get out of school and graduate, and you see people trying to get a job based on what they've done in school or college. Usually the big corporations have to retrain these people specifically for the tasks they're set out for.
Right.
I obviously in anything in life that people can talk about and have, obviously there is definitely evidence of these new methods and these new ways of thinking and these new programs and these new paradigms of consciousness, which can be, as you speak about, as you are as well, a multitude and diverse parts of your beingness, may it be through land, through music, through art, through design, through science, math, whatever that may be. There is definitely evidence that there is a healing power and an expansion and an evolvement into a better and positive future. Correct?
Yes, and in the past, when people like Galileo, for instance, wanted to break a paradigm and introduce something new, which all of a sudden the church acted very conservative and other powers that be and squelched him, and these people were lucky not to get roasted over the coals. We've come a long way from that. Although what does happen when one desires to go into the future, very often people who you regarded as friends before will simply short out. They will turn against you, and sometimes actually really do insidious acts because they're in denial and they do not want to be removed or moved from their comfort zone.
So that actually, I love that you guys just did that, because the next thing that I wanted to ask you, I mean, we're talking about very forward-thinking or Aquarian age thinking concepts, which granted are expanding in the majority mass consciousness, where terms like consciousness and spirituality are so commonplace today that they're actually becoming cliches. So that's actually a positive thing in regards to commentaries on our evolution, but still you are very much involved in higher levels of education and learning and science, and there are a plethora of associates that I am assured that you are in contact with. How are you finding presenting your information to more, shall we say, regimented scientists and leaders in consciousness or brain studies, what have you? How is it being received? What is the response that you are receiving from others?
Well, that's interesting, because when I was a kid, when I stepped out of line by asking certain questions or doing certain things, you really get slapped down pretty hard. But when you start to get gray hair and white hair, whatever, people begin to listen to you because the others have been falling by the wayside. And
You're still here.
They're getting to the point where they need to get information to survive. So this is now coming alive, many of these concepts, and that's the wonderful thing about working in this quantum field. We're all working different parts of this field as if we're in a swimming pool filled with consciousness, and we can do this to create a kind of a synergistic, by creating an energy synergy. It's like a choir, singing, people singing, but it's in terms of energy. We can change the world. We can change small things or large things, and we can change it very fast. Because what's happened is that there's a saying: it's better to be a tiger for one day than a sheep for 1,000 years. And now we're getting thousands of tigers stepping up to the plate, and we're ready to go.
Yes, we are.
The black sheep are becoming the dominant herd in a sense.
The black sheep is quiet. It's trending
herd.
as Love
it.
It is trending. We're just gonna take 1 minute, not 5 minutes. We're gonna take 1 minute, and we're gonna be right back.
Hi.
Did I say it was a minute? I did say it was a minute. I stuck with the minute. I did stick with the minute.
You did.
We are having a blast, as we always do, and we are having an amazing time here speaking with our fabulous, wonderful, brilliant, new paradigm thinking, wonderful man. Guest.
Special guest, yes.
Elliot Maynard.
Hello.
I actually, before, as we are getting close to ending the show, I would like to one more time just put the book up on the screen here for anyone who is interested. It is definitely, it's one thing that we can talk about different things. It is one thing when things are explained, and it's definitely when someone has taken the time to write about something that you can take your time and go and read more in depth.
We haven't even scratched the surface.
It's just, exactly. There's only so much we can bring up in order, like, in what
Dr. Maynard. Okay, so
said. It's just I can't. I really wish I could. I could just read the whole book to you right now.
No, it's impossible.
But
if I can just actually say a few words about the book itself. Mm-hmm. We are discussing things today on the show, and we are just really touching the very minimal surface. Mm-hmm. Dr. Maynard has spent decades committed to this cause, as have myself and Aline. Mm-hmm. And he has a plethora of information in here with everything from statistics to scientific research, findings based upon the past right up to the present, looking into the future, that you will be able to get a broader perspective into that which we are discussing in a much more calm, obviously, because you have the time to read it, but more expansive manner, where you're able to understand, for example, where the educational system came from, how it got to what it is today, the statistics relating to, for example, how our children are learning, how they're able to put that into effect, and why we are seeking to make changes, what those changes can and should be, and what the results of that would be. And that's just about education. He has touched upon everything to do with living on Mama Gaia. Very similar with respect to Jacques
Mama
Fresco.
Gaia would be the world.
Our Earth, yes. Very similar to Jacques Fresco, who we have mentioned on our show before, but completely its very own system and different similar and different at the same time, but both expanding our perceptual awareness to allow for us to start to ponder upon the potential of new ways of being, where and ways that we can integrate in this now into our daily lives and actually allow ourselves to see if we see any changes in focusing on that which we don't see. So definitely, today's show, yes, it's entertaining, it's filled with information, and we are having a blast, but it just, scrapes the surface. You really want to get this
your
book.
hands on that book. Speaking of Dr. Maynard, where can people, where is it mostly distributed? Where can people get your fabulous book?
Okay, the book has just gone up on Amazon.com.
Okay.
And actually you can look there and actually read the first few pages, as you know. It's called Brave New Mind, Living in a Future Science World. And it's all about a master paradigm called Future Science Technology, which has 25 different aspects or pathways for moving into the future and evolving yourself and evolving the world in the process.
And again, these are based in scientifically researched, factual accounts of that which has actually occurred, that our history here on planet Earth, and it's just amazing. So.
Yes, well, it's not just I actually also I wasn't sure if you had your own website or not, and and as I'm sharing with people, and if that's something that they can also get more information about you, I had put up
the
arcoscilios.com, and if that's unless you have another one that you'd like to share, but that's something that someone's interested in getting to know of what it is that you do as well, that's where they can reach.
Yes, and if you put that up on YouTube, you will find a series of video interviews there, which give you a lot more information about the book.
Perfect.
And it's a whole new concept for survival and evolution of the human race.
Perfect. Yes, I just want to ensure that everybody is getting as much as they can out of you, because we're just. So with
respect to you, we're not just.
Yes, well, we're having a good time, but we definitely want to get the message across.
So with respect to your book and the 25 keys and shifting the consciousness paradigm and the evolution of our human species, is there anything that you feel is the most important message or information or wisdom that needs to be shared right now with people who can take that information right now and do something with it?
Yes, I would say don't be afraid to live the dream, and that dream I'm speaking about is the pure dream of the highest realms, the highest vibrations. It's what we're all moving toward. And in this new world, or brave new mind, things like death simply become a graduation, and the barrier is dissolving between the physical realm and those that have passed on, so we can have communications, revelations, and resolutions also.
I like
All right.
that.
It's very,
How do you,
very exciting.
on that note, I want to ask my own personal interest question, because I have my own personal beliefs or intuitive knowings with respect to the life-death cycle and the fact that everything is energy. Do you believe that it is a necessity for us to actually shed the physical body, or do you believe that it is possible for us to be able to regenerate our current physical bodies infinitum, should we so choose?
Well, that's a very, very interesting question, and maybe I'll be writing a book about that. When my previous mate and mission partner of 30 years or so passed away, I simply refused to acknowledge what I call one of the master paradigms is called dissolving the death barrier.
Yeah.
This has been artificially put up by the church. The various church organizations, which are not, the churches are separate from the religious leaders who were the avatars that passed on pure love, pure energy, and pure enlightenment. And so what we're encouraging here is for people to not be afraid to move into the future. And each time we speak and bring these things forth, we're getting new recruits, and the energy is getting better and better, and it's easier for those who follow to come there. Meanwhile, there is a whole group of people, and it usually is the majority, that want to be fiddling while they go down on the Titanic, and they're devising all these insane, television shows to actually create a smoke screen so they don't have to face reality. So this is the real reality show I'm talking about. And it's fun, and it will reward you for your efforts and in opening yourself. I guarantee that you will start to experience miracles that you hadn't even thought about.
Well, I am openly welcoming, receiving, and embracing and
Right
sharing
here.
that one, honey.
Open with that one.
Bring on the miracles, magical miracles of love.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I am definitely going to take that one wonderful insight that you took, and I'm trying to actually sit with it. Integrate.
Yes.
Integrate into it. It is and it just there's nothing bad about it except only beneficial and only good. And the only thing here that we are talking about and that we are here being and doing, and I'm sure the same for Dr. Maynard as well, is that we want positive change. At the end of the day, we want positive change.
For the benefit of all.
We want a better,
not just a few, not those over there. Everybody.
We want a better world, and how to get about the better world starts with yourself. And then how does it start with yourself? It starts, one example is we're doing what we're doing. We're doing our part, and we are bringing in people and sharing in people from around the globe. And right now we have who we have with us here, Dr. Maynard, who is sharing his way and his method and each one has merit, and each one is different, but it all serves the same purpose, and that is love, and that is positivity, and that is unity, and living free, living peacefully, living comfortably, living
the life you want to be living.
Exactly.
Loving the life that you are living. Okay. Before I wanted to ask Dr. Maynard one more question, but can we share with everybody who our upcoming guests are?
Yes, we actually, this is great. We are doing our show again.
Oh my goodness, this is so exciting.
This Saturday, if you are in Toronto, and if you're not, you don't have to be in Toronto, but you can, be tuning in here with us on Soul Talk and Main Show, as we are going to be live on site with the Festival of Dangerous Ideas, Food for Thought. This is an exceptional, wonderful event that is happening. with wonderful speakers and wonderful people who are sharing all of their knowledge and what they are in their expertise about what it is that we're doing to the environment when we are putting food and where the food is growing and where we're buying our food.
How the food is, yes, it's everything to do with food, which has everything to do with the earth and our well-being, and pretty much everything that we have been speaking to Dr. Maynard about this is just another avenue with respect to loving self, evolution, expanding consciousness. The event is going to have speakers throughout the day who are going to be sharing a wonderful plethora of information, and then the evening there will be a party to celebrate our newly united commitment to doing the best that we can do to ensure that we are taking care of our earth when we are utilizing her for agriculture, making sure that that which we are feeding into the earth to then feed to ourselves is of the highest quality possible, and therefore ensuring what we are putting into our bodies is of the highest quality and is the best foods for us. For those who are wanting to go to,
you can just go to the website is festivalofdangerousideas.ca, and you should be getting all of the information with respect to this event over there. So please do check it out. If you're in Toronto, you better come down. This is one event you don't want to miss. So.
And either way, you can be watching us broadcasting live from the event, which we are super duper excited about. And then quickly following, next week on Wednesday.
But next week, we do not have that right now to put up, but we will share that later. That's okay.
Alrighty then. So before
we're excited about so many things.
I know, right?
Focus on
Did Dr. Maynard not say things are moving faster?
We're moving too fast. Moving too fast. Stay with us. Stay in touch. I mean, actually, on Saturday we'll be doing it live here or actually, what you can also do is get if you can go to our Facebook page, which is souls.talking.brain. You can also get all the information and stay up to date with everything that is happening. So do check that out. And now we get back to, before we leave, our wonderful guest,
Dr. Elliot Maynard, who we are so very blessed that you came to join us here today and share in your wisdom. Is there anywhere that people can get in touch with you personally, or anywhere that you will be going that people will be able to see you in the upcoming months, perchance?
Yes, the website of our nonprofit foundation, which is called Arcos Cielos,
which is online right now.
I do that website if you don't already have it there.
Yep,
we have it on screen now.
And I have one little saying I'd like to kick out there for those who are willing to start their adventure moving into the new quantum field. And that is, it's better to be a tiger for one day than a sheep for 1,000 years.
That is wonderful. And
it's 1,000 tigers now, and that's happening. And the tigers are going to really make some big changes in this old beaten up paradigm that we've been living in.
Well, sometimes you got to go down into the mud and dig up the dirt so that you can plant new seeds and grow a new garden of beautifulness.
Well,
yes.
Well, it's also knowing that we have. That's actually right now where we are, is that we have the abilities to be doing what we are doing, to be able to talk about what we're talking about, to be able to create these ideas. So as opposed to, in the past, that we had more limitations. We weren't able to. If somebody spoke, Galileo, they wanted to burn his books.
And so, today, even in certain areas in the world,
so we're
very lucky where we're at.
So that we are, so we are able to make these changes. We are able to do something about them, and
let's do it.
Let's do it. Yes. Sorry.
Welcome to the real reality show.
It's a real reality show, exactly. There's no sheep, it's just tigers.
He's like some real reality show, like you say, life is a game.
Yes, it is
He's
the
saying
reality.
that life is the reality show.
It is the reality
Yeah.
show.
So make your show what
Make
you
your
want it
show.
to be.
See, we have our show. We're doing our show. We have a double show.
This is the show in the show. This is the show in our show. All right. So on that note,
Well, I don't think anybody ever died from having too much fun. We need a lot more of that in this world. It would lighten a lot of this veneer that people keep repeating the same old mistakes. And we have a new operating system now, and this is all of what the book is about.
Mm-hmm.
So we can start and take off right from the present into the future and using the past as a reference.
absolutely, and we are so very blessed to know you and know that we have this partnership with you, as we do with all other light weaving consciousness beings who are dedicated to our evolution and doing all that they can to assist both self and all. So we thank you so very much for choosing to be the inspirational you that you are, and sharing yourself with us so openly here today. It's been absolutely delightful.
It is. I am honored, and I am very pleased to have met you and have crossed your path, and to have you here with us today on our show, and everything that you are doing in this world. I am very grateful, and hope that it is put forward and comes into usage and benefits globally all around as well.
ASAP.
Right now. So being the future
Thank
now.
you so much. It's really nice to hear that, because one of the keys of continuing to get information from the higher realms, if you want to put it that way, is that you must keep sharing.
Yes.
You just have to do it. It's like a bucket. You need to pour some of the water out so you can get more in.
This is very true. This is very, very true. And then speaking of, and again, thank you for sharing. And every one of you
We're
out
so
there.
happy that we poured enough water out to let you in.
Yes.
You got it. Now you got it.
I like that one.
So hopefully you've got the virus, because that book, I speak of the virus as a new kind of virus to elevate and evolve the human consciousness. That book, when you get the hard copy, it contains the energy that's been put in there, the energy of change and transmutation. And the ebook, which is now on Amazon.com, you can read the first few pages and get a flavor of what it's like.
I like the flavor. It's tasting mighty good.
Aw, that was sweet.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for everyone here joining us today. And again, this show is recorded, so please know that you can share this. You can embed it on your website. You can do all kinds of things with it. We will be uploading it as well on our YouTube channel, so just keep that in mind. And you can see on the screen is our youtube.com, and it's Souls Talking Brain, one word, and you can get to our YouTube channel and enjoy, and you can also check out the rest of our shows.
Many shows are available, so you can start with this one and then work your way through. And share. Sharing is caring.
And Dr. Maynard, thank you again. It's a pleasure to have you here with us today. And then who knows, maybe on your next book, on your next journey, maybe we can have another show on another show. That would be wonderful.
Yeah, it would be lovely to have you back. Absolutely.
Yeah, that would be really nice.
So on that note, thank you everyone who joined us here today, and to those of you watching the recording, thank you so very much for sharing in your lovely beingness. May you all be gifted with infinite blessings of easy breezy, beautiful, materialized manifestations of your authentic desires in every now, always. Blessedly be.
Now we can all become quantum jumping beings.
I like that.
Yeah.
We'll see you next.
If it isn't fun, it isn't worth doing, right?
Exactly.
And here we go on this quantum jumping trail. Thank you very much. Have a lovely evening, day, everyone out there.
See you next time.
And thank you for caring and sharing.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Souls, talking brain, enlightened minds, seeking out truths, seeing the world.